Hello, LinkedIn, and very good afternoon to this next episode of the Future Workplace. Thank you for joining us. My name is Guy Stanley, and from Stansons, we do acoustics, blinds, and curtains for the workplace and work with designers. And today I'm really excited. I've got two fantastic guests from the global design agency, M Moser Associates. We've got Agata, who is one of the 30 under 30 rising stars class of 2020 interior designer. And we've got Mariana, who's associate designer at the global company. So let's bring them in and let's jump into this. Hello,
Hi.
Agata.
Hi.
Hello, Mariana.
Hi. Hi there.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. Agata, kick us off. Tell us just quickly who you are, what you do.
So I'm a junior interior designer at M Moser. I started work last year after my graduation, and and I'm really happy to be here today to share with you on my experiences of being a young designer and working from home most of the time, more than I did at the office.
No, that's fantastic. It was brilliant to hear your points. And Mariana, can you tell us as an associate just quickly what your role is?
Yeah, sure. I've been with Moser now for about 6-7 years. I started as Agata, very junior in the company and growing, and now my role is more about that leading projects, and I also lead the team. So I'm Agata's sort of like line manager, if you wish, which is great. It's a great experience.
Fantastic. Right, we have got a great panel on here. I'm really excited. Workplaces for the future, how we can make our workplaces more conducive for learning, basically. And this is kind of kicked off because the effects of isolation have really impacted teams that are actually learning, and also for senior people in companies with teams underneath them and delivering that learning and that training. So Agata, could you kick us off about what the effects of isolation has had? You've won this incredible award, this Mixology award, one of the rising stars, and then to plummet into an isolation where you can't meet anybody and you're not, and you're
pretty intense.
So personally, I haven't struggled that much when working from home. I did miss the energy of the office and all the social interactions, but I feel like I got to focus way more at home. And in general, I think that working from home itself can teach you more self-discipline and independence. And I also think it proved to all of us that we can be way more flexible than we previously expected. Like nobody thought that whole offices could be working remotely and do it efficiently. And I think that in our case, the transition went really smoothly and I felt supported throughout the whole process.
Fantastic. And Mariana, can you chip in, like, from your position leading the team and not being able to be face-to-face with them, what impact that had on training?
Totally. Look, it's a killer. Like the energy that you have in the office, you walk around and you see your colleagues and the conversations that you have to booking now on your calendar. Are those conversations that were whimsical in the office when you were grabbing a coffee or just passing by, and then all of a sudden you see that face and you remember that you have to talk to the person. And I totally agree with Agata. I think the transition was way more smoother than we thought. People adapt. People tend to adapt, right? They adapted really well. I think the team did really, really well. I think even to the point of expressing, hey, I'm missing this. This is happening to me. We selected a mid and a senior designer just to be in touch with the more junior people. Like, as Agata say, we've hired Agata the day after she graduated. That's how fantastic she is. And then all of a sudden, 4 months on the job and she's gone and working from home. How can we make sure that apart from efficiencies and crunching hours and 9 to 6 and deadlines, is she okay? Is she okay at home? Does she have the right setup? Like all the little things that in the office are taken care of, from delivering chairs to delivering monitors to creating. Agata, we create like those design calls where we did like sketching competitions and I don't know, anything to lift the mood.
Yeah, soap making instructions.
Yes. Everyone got new hobbies, so we just wanted to learn. So Agata actually started making soap, and we were like, well, just tell us about that. How does it work? And it's about scheduling the little things, scheduling the things that you would used to happen, and those are the ones we miss the most, really.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And it's fair to say it's had a huge impact. All our learning experiences has been so different, hasn't it? I mean, for us at Sanson's, we were fully cloud-based and we're quite forward on tech. Thankfully, we've got a good IT department. So moving to home from a point of view of actually working was very easy, but it's the collaboration and the creativity and all that side, which you have to think.
And the touching fabrics. What about, like, I want to see how it feels, that was so hard. We also, I think for the first time in Moser, we rolled our webinar sessions, which were really good, just to connect people and see, like, actually we can do this. We can be all connected in this remote world as well. And we had a few offices. Now we have our office in Amsterdam, in Paris as well, in terms of the EMEA locations. And they associate from us and say, actually, I feel like I'm more gelled together with you guys now that everyone is remote than before, which is sweet. I think you work with them as well, Agata, haven't you?
You've been reminded that you've been a part of an international company, and you can forget it so easily when you've been like just working from your bedroom for months.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think it's kind of being able to not be in the office. I think it's actually been a good move for the world globally.
Yeah,
I think being able to not be in actually has highlighted just how important the office really is. I just want to take a second to reach out to all the viewers joining. We've got quite a few people joining now. So hello, everybody. We've got Agata, Rising Star 30 Under 30 on Mixology Award. And we've got Mariana, the Associate Designer at M Moser, both from the global design company. So really excited. And we want to hear any comments, any questions. Just drop any questions in the comments and we will fire them over to them and get their viewpoints. So get the questions rolling in, just post a question in the comments. But it's really bringing us on to the next question. That now we know how important the office is because we've kind of not had it. It's actually highlighted just how brilliant a tool it is for communication, collaboration, creativity, brand experience, so many things. From your experiences, what spaces and initiatives should we be thinking about putting in the office more, or putting more weight towards going forward in the workplace? Agata, have you got any thoughts?
So I think that in the future, companies will transform more into a blended workplace model where, oh my God, I'm sorry, my dog has been loud. Sorry about that.
That's part of the working from home experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just authentic. We love it.
Yeah. So I think that people will probably work like sometime at the office and sometime at home, like depending on their current needs, whether they need a more focused and quiet zone or more stimulating collaborative platform. So I think we'll see designs focused on bringing people together instead of dividing them and distancing them like we've just been forced to. And like many companies, I've like painted this picture of the future where we all divided by plastic screens. And I don't think that's neither healthy or inspiring work environment. And so I think at the moment we have to like take all the precautions that we can, but we should look beyond the current situation and as we've seen like last week, that the vaccine is going to be rolled out and there will be a happy end. And we should just make the decisions that look like beyond what's happening right now and are more long-term solutions.
Yeah,
no, fantastic.
I think the workplace, however that looks for anyone, I think what we're gonna find is not everyone's gonna have the same routine when they come back, and we should embrace that. And however people use the workplace 3 times a week, 2 times a week, full time, a couple of hours, however it needs to be exciting. You need to be excited to come in, and I think that's what you were saying before, Guy. Like when you go back to the office, you feel the energy that you missed and you didn't remember that you missed, because there is lovely things about working from home as well. I think in the future, like maybe like foster more flexibility. How do we do that in a physical environment? That's what we are kind of like testing, I think, currently in many of our offices in our locations. But I think for our clients as well, can we reduce the number of desks? Can we think about sharing them? And this is not a new concept, but maybe just bringing this to more companies. Everyone seems to be more open about flexible and agile working. And if you do that, then you find that in the same amount of space, you have more square meters for doing other stuff. And what is that other stuff? We really need client engagement. We need surveys. We need to understand what people need, what people want, and just to make sure that we cater for those necessities. I think that's exciting. Like, however we were working before, I think is that with a punch of energy now for the future, which is great. I tend to see the silver linings on anything. Like we know this is a very, very serious situation, but as Agata said, it's not about the plastic and what's happening right now. We do have our measures. We work a lot with a lot of clients about re-entry. But what is the future? And that's what's more important right now. Like, let's just look beyond what's in front of us. Let's look beyond what's happening, and how can we improve and how can we learn, which is really interesting.
Yeah, no, fully agree. And it's very, very exciting that a vaccine's on the way and the future's maybe not very far away.
Yeah, true.
Maybe we won't be able to have many more of these sessions because we will actually be in the future. Good.
I don't know. I think it's a good addition, right? I think even if we go back, we probably will be doing more of this because it's a great way to connect.
No, I think for us at Stansons of delivering acoustics and blinds and curtains on projects, it's actually been fantastic for us because there's more awareness of how important the office really is, and there's more awareness as to the flexibility of spaces and the acoustics in spaces. And we're doing so much design work. Just come out of 2 design meetings on for acoustics, and it's just like booming because people really now think that the office is really critical. So we've got quite a few people joining, so just hello to all our new viewers. Thank you very much for joining. If you post a comment or question in the comments, we will see that and we can fire that over to Agata and Mariana, and they will be able to answer your question for you. And in the meantime, we're just going to roll on to our next question. What spaces and environments are the most conducive to learning and retaining knowledge? Be an interesting one as opposed to being in our bedroom if we're actually brought into a office, and what spaces should we be creating, Agata?
So I think, like Mariana just mentioned, like the flexible working spaces are very important. It gives you a freedom of choice, and that's supposed to boost your productivity and give you a headspace for new ways of thinking. It also ensures the adaptability to change. And as we've seen this year, like it's so important to be prepared for the unexpected. And it will probably consist of furniture that can be hacked and easily moved around the specific needs, behaviors, and learning styles. And also, I was thinking about spaces that would require good acoustics, like library spaces where people can just focus without the distractions of the open plan, do research or listen to podcasts.
No, that's brilliant. I like the idea of the library, actually, to be honest. I think it's probably a bit of an overlooked area. I think in most companies think about little meeting rooms and pods and sort of touch points like coffee, tea points and places for drinks and natural social places that we gravitate to. But libraries actually can be turned not into a junk room, but into a beautiful space that's actually a brilliant place to collaborate and learn, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that they liked working from home because they could focus. So I think we should bring those qualities that we liked about working from home into the office.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if either of you have got any comments, but I'm seeing a lot of auditoriums, a lot of large seating, a lot of huge sort of tiered seating. Tell us about what you're designing on the spaces, Mariana. It's really exciting to hear from a global design company like M Moser.
Definitely the concept of like the living labs and the ever-shifting spaces, amphitheater style, and a hackable or movable like tier seating. We just finished a fintech company space in Old Street last year, and everything was made out of like around this big circle in the center with curtains, which were acoustic. The tier seating was movable, but if you put them all together and park them, they will just form like a semicircle kind of conference area. Tier seating 3 levels, and then you have like a big screen on the other side with some movable writable boards. And in essence, it's just to provide with the same square meters of the space. How can that be hacked for different uses, for different moments, for different audiences, for those active, high energy moments that you actually really enjoy when you go into the office? I think most companies will be trying to say, look, at least once a month, let's just gather all together in the office. How do you get that many people into the office? And I think the flexible spaces like that will be really interesting for those occasions. We all get together, we feel the energy, and then we go away and do the rest of the day however it works for us. So we've seen a major shift on those spaces. We've also started seeing questions around how can we be more flexible in terms of workstations. Can we be more flexible in terms of like meeting rooms? Can they change? It's not a new concept, but I think it's the way and the level of requirement that is coming from all across the boards, different type of clients, is becoming more and more common now. I think something that we discussed as well, talking about this session previously with Agata this week, spaces for downtime. How do we bring that into the office once we go back? We've learned that having such a flexible schedule and being at home it could bring some sort of element of wellness into your life. Can we bring some of that into the office as well? I don't know, Agata, if you wanted to expand on that.
Yeah, we could have some more homely soft finishes, which would add to comfort and help us distress. And it could also be encouraged to take walks on lunch breaks, as so many of us did under lockdown. And it definitely had a good impact on both physical and mental health and helped us refocus for the afternoon's meetings.
And
a bit of a pressure.
Having the space for the downtime, you're saying. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, same as the library. I think I have to admit, I'm a mom. I have 7 years old, and I never thought, mother's room in the office. Really, I probably wouldn't need it. I'll probably do whatever I have to at home and not need it in the office. Now, after this blur line in between the two worlds, 100%. Like, I would love to bring my kid, maybe have like a family corner, a special place that I can bring my son once every now and then. Make sure that people feel welcome, that people's families feel also welcome into the office. Probably doesn't apply to the younger generation just as much as for us, the oldies, but it's interesting to see all these new requirements, and with that, the softer finishes on the floor, on the walls, like a refreshing use of curtains as well. I think that we're seeing more and more as well.
Thanks for plugging the curtains, yeah. with this whole resi-mercial design, this commercial residential blur, we're seeing a huge, we had such an influx in curtains. We've had to launch a huge range of like decorative curtains, which are literally curtains that would look lovely in a home, but they're just made to be commercial standard quality for durability and flame retardancy and things. But actually the curtains look like just a beautiful home curtain and they're being specified so much from our range. So that's really interesting that you touch on it as well. And I think I love what you said, Mariana, that in a way this isn't new, but in a way all that's changed is just highlighted that it's more important. So we always had an office. Everyone used to go to an office, but now it's that the office is more important. And more important doesn't mean that we're there more time necessarily. It's just that when we are there, we need to get more out of it. There needs to be these spaces for this learning, this education of our teams, of each other, this collaboration. And I love the idea of the family spaces too, because I think that's a really big trend that's happening. I know it's coming a bit off topic, but let's pick up on it because it's great. I think it's not only brilliant for mothers to be able to have that time, but I think colleagues like to have that blend and see people's other significant other halves, and people like to see the children, and it kind of brings in that family culture of understanding and care for each other, which I think is, it's huge for us at Stanson's. People come first, and that is our top brand value. And it probably sounds like it's similar for you, is it? Tell us more.
Agata, you want to chip in or you want me to?
Oh, of course, always. Yeah, I've seen that, like with the commute being removed from our life, we gained that extra time with our family, and it just proved like how important it is to have these human connections. But also I think it made us, not only with family, I think that also working remotely made us more connected to our colleagues in a way, because we, like, for example, in my case, like I didn't get that time of learning by just simply watching my colleagues do the tasks in the office. So it just pushed me to make those calls, use the digital platforms that we have to communicate and to ask questions.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. Yeah,
because sometimes it might feel like a bit awkward when you use Teams. It's like not as natural as the face-to-face interaction, but I think we just have to overcome that.
Totally. And for us, we have to put the time one-to-one, because we don't have all of you at the same time in the office. You can't avoid the thought of, is Agata doing okay? Is she wanting to talk about something, bounce ideas, and how do you do that when you are remotely? I think to link back on bringing some of the other spaces off, and what we learned from home also, like a lot of people got puppies, and it's the same. It's about you wanting to feel connected and feel that your house and your family's time is as important as the 8 hours a day that you do your work. And once we come back, that should be included. And it's nice to say the other face of your manager or your colleague, or the house and the decorations, what are they into it. It's just so nice. It makes you blur everything a little bit more.
I think we've enjoyed jumping on Teams and seeing each other's interiors of their house.
Totally, yeah, and make comments. It's like, oh, I didn't know you made soap, Agata. That was such a breakthrough, and actually really good soap.
Thank you.
We've had a question come in, which I'll pop up on the screen from Honey. To what extent does the Well Building Institute guide inform your designs? the interaction between architecture and well-being must be closely linked, but how much emphasis is placed on well-being compared to, say, 10 years ago? Firstly, thank you very much, Honey, for your question. Anyone else that's got any questions, fire them in, and we will get them put to this brilliant panel we've got here from the global design company of M Moser Associates. And you can decide between yourself, Agata and Mariana, who's going to take this one on.
I think before Well and any other system, Well or Leads or anything that you wanted to incorporate, was more guided via the architecture, your base bill or your landlords. Nowadays, Well and the essentials of Well, like lighting, environment, fresh air, it feels like it's a given. Most of our clients do request, have you thought about lighting? Have you thought about air, fresh air? Not necessarily asking us about Well, but we're one of the, I can't remember exactly the number, maybe like 3 or 4 Well certified offices from Moser. So we have certain standards, we have to use certain materials, certain adhesives. Just be careful what you put on your furnishings, on your fabrics. Obviously, it was important, and now it's much more important than before. Air filters, UV filters on the air conditioning system. Can we monitor? Like our office is in the Thames, is in Lower Thames Street. Are we breathing enough fresh air? Can we improve the fresh air that we breathe? All of those questions. We've actually made changes on the system since we're back. Can we advise on our clients to talk to their landlords and make sure that they increase the fresh air capacity, the intake? Can they just make sure that the regular checkups that should be done to the systems are done? There is so much that we've integrated in terms of Well into all of our designs. Compared to 10 years ago, massively. I think now it's a given. 10 years ago, you'd still be asking the question, should we do or not? Now it's not a question. You have to integrate some of those essentials into your design. Now to get a certification and go through all the steps, and we can install monitors into your spaces. We can just do all of that, and that's kind of like the next step. We have a really good global group and support into the office that we can just reach out if we need to do specifics on our projects. I don't want to bore you too much with the details. I hope the responses are okay, but I think 100%, maybe 150% nowadays, lighting, ergonomics, quality of materials is a given. Plants in the office, those are the things that we are kind of like not thinking anymore. We're now seeing beyond them. How do we improve them, and what else do people want and feel that it works for them in the office environment?
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Honey, for your question, and I hope that answers it. I'm just really interested, just hearing you speak there. I wonder how Well will develop to incorporate home working. Maybe there's an answer already that you're just about to give me, to make sure that we are giving people that flexibility to reduce stress and anxiety, but then making sure they're not isolated at home, and that's obviously increasing stress and anxiety the other way, and how we would measure that and how we would implement sort of Well standards in our home offices. Is that something that's come up in question before or not?
No, not yet. Surprisingly, not directly to me. I guess it's a question that will probably come up anyway, isn't it? Like if your setup at home is not correct, you're gonna feel the implications of your setup. I know a lot of companies have implemented like funds, individual funds for people to go and buy whatever they need to make the setups more permanent, I suppose. They were kitchen tables and like ironing tables, and now they're proper desks perhaps and task chairs. But all the rest, what about the lighting? Are you near to a window? Are you getting your doses of fresh air a day? Are you eating your food? Are you standing up and cooking for yourself and eating healthy? Are you drinking with enough water? so many things, and I think it's just the environment that you control. There is so many variables. Hard to say, but I think it's a given and it should come.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Had another question come in. So thank you to all the viewers that are joining still now. Thank you very much for joining the Future Workplace broadcast. And here we've got a question from Percy Smith. To what extent would you allow for planting to clean the air? Or do you spec mechanical filtration and have plants as a bonus in the air cleaning spec? Now, that's a fantastic question. Anyone else that's got any questions, just drop them in the comments below and we will get them and we'll feed them to our fantastic panel from the global design company, M Moser Associates. So, Agata, do you want to kick us off? To what extent do you allow for planting to clean the air, or is it just an aesthetic thing?
I mean, it obviously has an aspect of clean the air. I think it's a given. Like, we always include planting in our designs, not only for air filtration, but just for that, like, more homely, more friendlier feeling of the space. And we obviously have the
mechanical filters. Yeah. I think there's two things, I guess. To what extent plants and how much planting do you have to be able to clean the whole office environment? They obviously help. I think the other aspect of the mechanical filtration is more about the viruses and keep trying to remove the viruses of the filters of the fresh air that is incoming into the office, and that has to be something more mechanical, like UV filters and that kind of thing. It's a really great question, actually.
Yeah, no, it is very good. Thank you, Percy, for your question. We'd love to. It'd be a good thing to explore whether plants count.
And how much? Yeah, how much you have to have a living wall. Maybe different species of planting do create different sensations and do clean the air differently as well. What are they? Can they live inside? Can they live away from natural light? All those things. We do have a few clients that are exploring even like having edible planting in the terraces. Can we do that? Where's the best sunshine for that? So it's a big. Maybe we need another session for only that. You know.
I was gonna say, what about is there any plants that are COVID, like anti-COVID?
That would be fantastic. We're missing them.
Yeah, no, we could definitely have a whole session around planting. I mean, I know it's a huge thing that we see on projects, like people having like full-on allotments. We're working on projects at Microsoft and Google, and they've literally got allotments. So not only that people can go and do gardening and get green fingered and sort of obviously relaxing and well-being and that type of thing, but obviously internally it's doing everyone a favor, cleaning the air and the aesthetics of it, and it boosts creativity and well-being and productivity, we all know. So thank you, Percy, fantastic question. And anyone else that's joining on at the minute, you're welcome to drop in a question in the comments and we'll fire it to our lovely panel to get answered. In the meantime, we've got another question here about how M Moser continue to learn and expand its knowledge for clients. I guess that's really important because right now, no one's been in this situation before. In a way, none of us have got a clue about COVID, but then a global design company that's in touch with people all across the globe, and obviously the virus hasn't spared anyone. You've been at the forefront of learning and expanding your knowledge so you can actually deliver tangible results on projects and workspace strategies. How have you done that in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, yeah. I'll jump on this first. I think personally we have this motto in our company even if it's a global company, obviously like quite a large organization, we are very entrepreneurial. Like people do take the lead on trying new things, and it is embraced. So I think if we want to implement something, we should try in our own home or in our own organization. So I think the idea of this living lab has been a recurring idea. I'll touch briefly because I already mentioned about that at the beginning, but our New York office, for example, is in a fantastic building, and they did create this fully flexible environment where you can even move your desk because they are just all the resources for like plugging your laptops and stuff are batteries that lie with your desks. So fully flexible, quite interesting. Obviously, the shifting into being in a fixed location to be able to move all the time is something that we all know that we need to look after our employees and just make sure that the shifting is done right and before the change. So good change management is needed. But basically, something that integrates the physical, the social, and the digital environment in a perfect way, which is extremely hard to achieve. But if we don't experiment, how can we find what works and what not? So I think after New York, we've been rolling out all these living labs extensions in various locations. So Vancouver was the next. I think now we're working on the Shenzhen office to be a living lab as well. And we'll see the results. We see what happens. We see how, as designers, we use those spaces. Most of the shifting changes that we see now are going to be based on habits that people used to have, still have, and develop during the working from home. And we need to learn from them. What can we learn that we can bring into the office to make it even more spectacular and more attracting, especially for people like Agata? We want to see them growing. We want them to learn. We want them to think outside the box. Like I've been trained, I'm still learning, but I've been trained and I have a mind, but Agata has not. So that's the exciting bit. What can we provide to this new next generation that loves to come to the office? Like there's been studies about like the younger people like wanting to come to the office, maybe because they're sharing flats, maybe because they're living with mom and dad or whatever it is. So these offices needs to be more like a catalyst for all those individual changes, and we embrace them. So I think that's how we are preparing to learn, just so we can then implement it into our client spaces in a way. And I think I always believe that you have a plan, and if the plan changes, you have to change accordingly, and that's the main idea. Like that's the only way that you can make a fantastic design. You can never stop thinking about improvements that you can make.
Yeah, well, I haven't been to your New York or your Singapore or any other, or your Amsterdam offices, but maybe I could go there. But your London,
you should. Yeah, even London.
It's definitely, it's lovely. And I think it's about, like you say, experimenting and trialing new things and then implementing that and then tweaking it and keeping on developing. Have you got any thoughts on this, Agata, from your perspective?
And I think if you want to do this experimentation, this innovation can only happen if we work together and if we have the space where we can collaborate.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
So it just proves like how essential the offices are for our development and our learnings.
Yeah, we've had another question come in, so let's get it up. Thank you very much, Veronica, for your question. Firstly, that's absolutely brilliant. We love the questions coming in. It makes it so much more like a conversation, like real life, like we're in a room together. So we love the questions. So thank you very much. Anyone else that wants to post a question, get it in quick, because we have to wrap up shortly-ish, but shortly-ish, I don't know if that's a word, but Veronica, let's get on to this. Are there colors or textures that work well in the living lab? And are there different color preferences to regions or sectors? Very interesting question. Are we now in more millennial global world? That's fantastic. I love that. I've actually done blogs around the impact of color and how different levels of light and colors of light change our learning environment and our decision-making skills and stress levels and all sorts of things. So this is a really interesting question, but I also find it interesting how it impacts different regions, because we all know Europe are more vibrant and fun than we are in England.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it.
No, I'm very, very aware of that, and we deal a lot with Europe, and it's like they're much more out there, and I'm like, oh, please, England, come on.
It's a very interesting subject. We are currently writing an article with some of our marketing teams. We'll put it online. I'll send you the link when we have it. And it's about the impact of color, and it's about how you use color to create different sensations and zones within the spaces. So I thought it's interesting that Veronica is linking it to the Living Lab, because it depends on what you want to achieve. Do you want more like a neutral, futuristic sensation? Do you want something that feels more like home? Is it about textures, or is it just about colors? That's the fun bit. I think we do, and I'm gonna mention the curtains again, and I'm really sorry, but it's not trying to make you sell your product, but it's almost like the curtains are becoming this thing that are that extra level of texture, and not necessarily color maybe, but it's the see-throughness and the different layering of the space apart from what you put. So I'll say it depends. It depends on the company or what they want to achieve. But I'm Venezuelan, and I come from a background where everything is a splash of color. It was so hard to come here and discover the amount of gray shades that you can have in your life, and I never thought it was possible before. But yeah, it's cultural. It depends on the company, but it is our role to make sure that we're doing the right spectrum of color, or lack of color, or pop of color in any project that we do. So
yeah, if I just spin my camera around so you can see the
lovely.
just to cheer it up a bit, because I'm very aware it's very black behind me.
Well, you have the planting and the lighting, so that's saving you, I think.
No, I've got Caribbean family, so I'm very aware of how much colour there is around the world that there's not in England. So, and,
yeah,
boy, I do love it.
And Agata and I, we work on a project that fintech that had the amphitheater. Everything was pretty much neutral, and then the splash of color were the shares. You remember?
Yeah, just the accent.
Yeah, just an accent tone. And it's almost like, it also depends, like if you have different clients, if our clients have different clients that are coming, we don't want a space to be fully branded. I think that's something, that's a thing of the past. Like brand colors are not something that you stick on the walls anymore. It's more like an interpretation to the fit up. But it has to be really well balanced, and depending on the crowd. We just finished a project in Brighton. In Brighton, people from Brighton are eclectic and fun and close to the beach. So we went crazy with color in some areas. So it really depends, I guess, on our clients' needs.
Yeah. Do you have? It's just a really interesting question about the regions and sectors. When you're dealing with global brands, do you find you do more color in different regions? Even though it's the same brand, or how does it work?
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes you receive, even from the States, even if you work in Chicago or you bring those branding guidelines into London, the amount of timber and the tone of timber changes as well. So yeah, and then you also have your global client and you have your local representative, and you need to work with both of them, because the local people are the ones that are going to leave that space. So if they want to tune it down or ramp it up, you have to listen.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's about like adapting the colors to the context, right? So
yeah, it needs to make sense.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your question, Veronica. That's absolutely fantastic. I found that very interesting. And if anyone's wanting colour, then I'm a very avid promoter of colour, although I don't really.
Same, yeah.
And I think it can be done really tastefully, and I think it doesn't need to look like a kindergarten. I think it can be done really well, and it can help zone spaces and change how people think and feel and behave. And it's a really great way. I was on a project the other day that was very, very colourful. It was a creative agency in London, and they had tons of curtains, and every curtain was like different greens, yellows, blues, turquoise, and it was done as a way of zoning the space. And obviously when the sunlight shines through it, it's got a slightly different light color in the room, and it was just really, really, really well done. I love the designer on it. It was a fantastic company, and I think we can see more of that. Cheer us up a bit.
Yeah, totally.
After the year we've had.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we're all very excited to go and see your offices around New York.
Yeah, you should go on the tour. The New York office is beautiful, and the next ones to come, we'll publish them on our website as well. They are looking very promising. And when if we move from our current office, we'll make sure to loop you in for more curtains, Guy.
Yeah, and any of your future schemes in London, we'd be delighted to work on. As always with M Moser, a great company to work with. So definitely plug for them there. Well, we're kind of wrapping up on time. If there's any other questions, anybody that's joining us, any other questions you want to pop in for our panel before they go. And in the meantime, I'll just ask both of them if they had any final thoughts, top tips for us before they head off. Just a last piece of advice for our audience.
You want to go, Agata?
Everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, that's a good positive one. I'll just say, just make sure that you talk to people, communicate to whomever you feel comfortable with. Don't be shy. These are hard times for everyone, so we should all be together. We all belong to a community, whatever that community is. So that's what's important.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right, we're going to say thank you very much to Agata. Very huge thanks to Mariana too, both of them for joining us and sharing their insights into the future of the workplace and how that's going to affect our learning. Name's Guy Stanley, and it's been a pleasure to host another Future Workplace broadcast. We'll clock off now. Any other questions you want to pop in to the comments if you're watching afterwards, drop them in and we will get them over. We'll try and get them answered by our expert panel, and have a fantastic Friday afternoon. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.